go. Yes.
And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Send men to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the children of Israel. From each tribe of their father you shall send a man, every one a leader among them.
Okay, now 22.
Yep.
And they went up through the south and came to Hebron. Ahiman, Sheshai, and Talmai, the descendants of Anak, were there. Now Hebron was built 7 years before Zon in Egypt. Then they came to the valley of Eshcol, and there cut down a branch with one cluster of grapes. They carried it between two of them on a pole. They also brought some of the pomegranates and figs. The place was called the Valley of Eshcol because of the cluster which the men of Israel cut down there. And they returned from spying out the land after 40 days. Now they departed and came back to Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel in the wilderness of Paran. At Kadesh they brought back word to them and to all the congregation and showed them the fruit of the land. Then they told him and said, We went to the land where you sent us. It truly flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. Nevertheless, the people who dwell in the land are strong. The cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south. The Hittites, the Jebusites, and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the banks of the Jordan. Then Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, Let us go up at once and take possession, for we are well able to overcome it. But the men who had gone up with him said, We are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they gave the children of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out, saying, The land through which we have gone as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants. And all the people whom we saw in it are men of great stature. There we saw the giants. The descendants of Anak came from the giants, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight. So all the congregation lifted up their voices and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron, and the whole congregation said to them, If only we had died in the land of Egypt, or if only we had died in this wilderness. Why has the Lord brought us to this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and children should become victims? Would it not be better for us to return to Egypt? So they said to one another, Let us select a leader and return to Egypt. Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel. But Joshua the son of Nun and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, who were among those who had spied out the land, tore their clothes. And they spoke to all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, The land we passed through to spy out is an exceedingly good land. If the Lord delights in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which flows with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against the Lord, nor fear the people of the land, for they are our bread. Their protection has departed from them, and the Lord is with us, do not fear them. And all the congregation said to stone them with stones. Now the glory of the Lord appeared in the tabernacle of meeting before all the children of Israel.
Thank you so much. Give her a big round of applause.
Wow, what a great job of reading. Those are like some difficult
what
names.
translation was that? New King James. Perfect. Reads so well.
Very good.
We're back here, old school. Okay, so they leave Egypt, which is bondage, which is a type of the world, and they face their first challenge, and they quit, right? And the thing about it is, if you look at chapter 13, look at verse 29. It says, The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea. This was a perfect setup, one battle at a time. One battle at a time. All of these enemies hadn't joined together forces against Israel. They were all divided up. And they had really high walled cities, just like Jericho, which meant it would have been very easy to take them out one at a time. And what we know from Rahab, when the people of Israel got to Jericho, she was like, Where have y'all been? We've heard about how faithful your God is. We heard that he parted the Red Sea. It's like the enemy is more aware of God's power than you are. That doesn't need to be the truth. That doesn't need to be the case. Like, he knows he's defeated, and we low-key are kind of like fearful. No, you haven't come this far, and don't fear that. Just because other young adults, other teenagers have stopped coming to church, they've made mistakes. They may have even told you, well, just wait till you get to high school, it's different. Just wait till you're this age, it's different. What's different? What's different? Guys, other people's inconsistencies aren't your inconsistencies. Other people's failings aren't your failings. Just because they blew it doesn't mean you're going to blow it. And don't even let your parents are training you, but if it comes to you in a way that's like fearful, like you better not be like your cousin or, and it's like, I don't want to be like my God. I didn't even, like, that thought wasn't on my goal list. Make all the wrong choices. Did anybody write that down today? Like, get up, make all the wrong choices. Okay, disobey everyone. Disrespect all authority in my life. Nobody, like, woke up with that on their agenda, right? So don't fear that. Don't let people, if you don't do this, you're going to turn out like this. Understand the context of that. They're just trying to help you, but don't take that in and let that turn into fear. Like, oh, no, you're not going to be anything but a success in God. But you can't go backwards. That's why if y'all aren't signed up for Deep, young adults, you better get signed up. It's $20. And if you don't have $20, ask one of the leaders in the back. And just say, listen, I need $20. I need to sign up for Deep Young Adults. Well, my parents aren't doing it. We'll get a ride. Your parents take you all these other places. They don't go into ballet with you. Right. And if they do, like, that's weird. I cannot imagine any of y'all's dads doing ballet. I mean, I could if I really tried, like a skit for fun. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of things you do that your parents don't do. So don't get signed up for Deep Young Adults. Who's already signed up for Deep Young Adults? Okay. If you're not, get signed up today. Midnight is the last day. Okay, it's $20. Well, I did it last year, and you're going to do it this year.
Amen.
And the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that. There's no decrease in him. We keep increasing. We keep increasing. But that means, guys, when we got to this building, it had a lot of amazing things.
Right.
Like, first of all, a youth room and not a tent.
Hey, let's go.
But
Let's see, were any of y'all in kids' church when we had youth in the tent? Did y'all be like, I can't wait till we get to be in the tent? Did any of y'all get to be in the tent? It was gone.
Anything.
Kenny was in the tent.
Y'all could have gotten impaled by a pole.
Ethan.
It was hot out
Anaya,
there.
Zay. Yep.
Y'all didn't miss anything.
So we have some tent dwellers.
But when we got here, there were new obstacles.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, yes, we had a new building, but there's new challenges.
Yep.
And now that we've been in this for 5 years, it's like, okay, there's more things that we're going to take on. So you can't have this attitude like, well, I'm just going to get in the lazy river. Not until we get to heaven. We need to keep moving forward. And a lot of that has to do with your focus. Well, my parents aren't. Listen, you do a lot of things your parents don't do. And now all of a sudden you're going to blame your parents for where you're at. I get it. It's discouraging if your parents aren't where they need to be. Like, unpack that just a little bit.
Well, number one, emotionally, you're going to feel that.
Yeah.
When you see, because you guys are spending time in the Word and you're seeing God's right way of doing things, if you see something that doesn't line up, maybe it's blatantly obvious, you're going to have a soulless connection to that.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to be mature enough to say, you know what? It's my parents' responsibility to run their own race. Yeah. And you know what you can do? You can go in your room, and in the privacy of your room, you can lift them up in prayer. Because honestly, probably 9 times out of 10 or 9.9 times out of 10, your parents don't want to hear about all the things they're doing wrong from you. Right?
Definitely not.
That's just going to heap coals on their head because, listen, they already know right from wrong. There's already a conviction there for anything in their life that doesn't line up with the Word. They don't need you to remind them and to tell them. What you can do is lift them up in prayer, and honestly, your prayers will be far more effective than you just saying and telling them what they're doing wrong. And so I just want to encourage you, don't take that personally. Like even, I'm just so thankful for my dad and respectful of my dad because his dad was not like, the poster child for world's greatest dad. He had an alcohol problem. He, was more interested in himself and his own issues in his own life, and that was what he's thinking about. He wasn't necessarily thinking about how his decisions affected his family. But yet my dad did not allow the failures of his father to define his life. Right. And because he took responsibility, my father, because he took responsibility for his life, I now reap the benefits of that. So what I want you to encourage you to do is to stay in your lane and don't be distracted by the shortcomings of your parents. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Can you guys pull up 1 Peter 5, 7, and 8 in the Amplified? Because Pastor Greg and I were encouraging each other with that this week. Because anything that tries to grab your attention and turn into worry and fear, you need to cast that care on the Lord. Okay? Like, if I, wake up and I see a bunch of spiders crawling around in my room, I'm not going to be like, oh, man, that stinks. I'm going to get them out of my room. Okay? So you need to treat worry and fear and anxiety that same way. Don't just, some young people are so burdened down. You can see it in their countenance. Guys, there should be a joy about, your life is in a great place and it's only going to get better. And if you're already burdened down because your parents are burdened down. Listen, that's your burdens.
Right.
I told my parents, please don't tell your parents, please. But I told my parents all the time, listen, babe, if you got a problem, you didn't need to have kids. Okay, so don't be upset at me because I didn't bring myself into this world. You know what I mean? So don't be sitting here with all this. You know, you have kids. These are your choices. Okay, so we're all in this together. We just need to make the best of it.
Don't use that out of context.
Don't use
y'all
it,
don't
period.
do it.
Don't use it, period.
Y'all don't clean your room like you're supposed to. Listen, folks, you had kids, you know.
No, right.
No.
Don't use it, period. But just understand that, like, you don't need to take on their burdens.
Amen.
They're the parents.
Yep.
Divorce, even if they share with you. My mom and dad tell me we don't have any money, which you understand. They didn't ever do that. But I never even asked. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes Faith would look at the checkbook and mom would have the register and it was like there was no money. That's not my problem. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to pray in more money for y'all. Mm-hmm. That's y'all's problem. Right. Y'all need to pray. Now, if it concerns me, I'll pray. Mm-hmm. Just like when I needed a car, I'm going to pray and the money's going to come in. Mm-hmm. And I'm not special. You guys can do that same thing. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, wait for them to figure things out. Mm-hmm. I can do my own praying. They're burdened about, I can sit there and I can say, you know what? They tell you things. Parents tell you things. Your dad's da-da-da-da-da-da. That ain't your husband, girls. That's your husband. That's who you married, yo. Like, I didn't marry him. You did that, right? So you say, you know what, Mom? I know the Holy Spirit's going to help you. You know what, Dad? Mom is crazy, but we're all in this together. We're all in this together. We're going to get through it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't take that on. You have your own grades. You have your own stuff. And God knows exactly what's going on in your home. So he's not asking you to bear that burden. He's not asking you to do that. You need to cast your cares on him, and then you need to enjoy your life. Amen. You need to do your schoolwork. You need to hang out with your friends. You need to be a blessing. You need to do spend your time with the Lord. Learn things. Cultivate. Listen, everything starts going crazy. Find a little nook in the house. You know what I mean? Learn an instrument. Please.
We got to turn our bay into a band.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's other things you can do. Well, I don't have an instrument. If you be listen, how many guitars have we given away? How many keyboards have we given away?
Several.
Go to a little nook, sew something, bake something. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, live your best life. You can't take that on. Your mom tells you that? Whatever. Mom, listen, I love you, but I'm not a person that can take this on. You know what I mean?
Let me tell you, before we do 1 Peter 5, Matthew chapter 11, Jesus said in verse 28, "Come unto me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke."
Matthew 11, 28, 29, folks.
Everybody say, take my yoke.
Take my yoke.
So Jesus said, take my yoke and learn of me, for I am meek, which is gentle and humble, and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest for your soul. That's why I talked about your soul earlier. Your soul's going to be tied to your parents, but you're going to have to learn how not to take on the care. And then it says, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. That's why 1 Peter 5 says, casting all your care, where? On him. So when that care comes and your soul tries to take ownership of it, your spirit man has to be mature enough to say, you know what? My soulish man was not built to carry this care. And Jesus said that I could take his yoke. Instead of taking the care of this, I can in turn cast my cares upon him. And that's exactly how we take his yoke, is by casting our cares.
Yep.
And his yoke is easy and his burden is light. So that means there will be a lightness about your life when you're actually casting your care. You won't be burdened down and bogged down and like emo, like Pastor Charity was talking about, because you're carrying things that you were never built to carry. And so what we're saying is we're not trying to make light of maybe legitimate challenges that your family's facing or that your parents are facing. But what we're telling you is that the Bible tells us no matter what the care is, maybe it's a care of a friend at school, maybe it's a cousin, a relative, a sibling, parents, whatever it is, these cares that try to weigh you down, the Bible says don't let those cares weigh you down. Cast them on Jesus.
Yeah. Do you want to read that verse?
Yeah.
1 Peter 5.
The King James says, casting all your care upon him because he cares for you. But look at the Amplified Classic. Casting the whole. Everybody say the whole.
The whole.
That means everything, all of your care, all of your anxieties, all of your worries, all of your concerns. What does this next part say? Once and for all. What does that mean, once and for all? Final? So that means if you cast it on him today, you're not going to be thinking about it tomorrow. Why? Because once and for all, nope, I've already cast the care of that on the... So it doesn't mean the thought won't come.
Right.
Just like Brother Hagin, one of our fathers in the faith, just like he would say, you can't keep the birds from flying over your head, but you can keep them from building a nest on top of your head. So you can't keep those thoughts from coming, but you can keep them from being a part of your psyche, of your thinking.
Yeah.
Why? Because you say, no, I remember specifically, I got on my knees and I cast that care on the Lord. I remember that I've already given this to Jesus. So it says, once and for all, for he cares for you affectionately and cares about you watchfully. It's like, you know, if you've ever seen any of those videos where like parents are like distracted, maybe they're talking and their kid goes over here and does something, like a little toddler jumps in the pool and then the dad like freaks out and hurdles the thing and like sit, right? No, God's not distracted. He's watchfully taking care of you. Yeah. He's careful, like he cares about what it is that you're facing and he's always right there. But it's still your responsibility to what? Cast that care on him.
Right. He won't take anything from you.
He won't take it from you.
Like, we have to give it to him.
Yeah.
But once you give it to him, like, don't take it back. And even if the thoughts come, and realize, like, because you get older and the pressures are different. Like, when you're a young adult, you're not aware, or when you're a kid, you're not aware of how much shoes cost and how much things are. Like, you're not thinking about that. So the older you get, now you're a young adult, you're thinking about college or internship or whatever. And it's like, then you start thinking about things. What do? Sing the song. He did not bring me out this far. Like, he didn't get you through elementary, and now it's like, okay, you're too expensive. We're not going to be able to figure this out. You know, this is too much. No, he is faithfully able to provide for you in every season. Well, how's he going to do it? By faith. Not by your parents. He may use your parents, but he's going to do it by faith. You know, whenever I got married, and many of you guys may not have known this. I don't know if I've ever told you this before, but if you were a summer intern, you saw my wedding dress up here. My parents didn't even have to pay for my wedding dress. Now, it's the bride's parents' job to pay for everything. Now, I'm not saying they didn't have to pay for some other stuff. That's what I'm saying. But they didn't have to pay for the dress because somebody bought my dress. Does anybody know who? For a free drink from the cafe. Who can guess? Pastor Greg did not buy my dress. No, my dad didn't either. It's okay. They made separate accounts. Pastor Faith did not. Although, honestly, you guys, anything amazing in my kitchen, Pastor Faith. The blender.
Facts.
Nope. No, it wasn't Pastor Greg's mom. She threw me a banging shower. It is a pastor's wife that you guys know. Yes. Pastor Teresa's.
Free drink.
Good job. Free drink. I mean, I gave you guys a bunch of clues, but that was hard. So Maya gets a free drink. Okay, so Pastor Teresa wanted to buy my dress. And do you know what? She's buying Pastor Faith's dress too, if Pastor Faith decides she wants to get married. Yep. Do you know what I mean? Like so if my parents were like, worried, like, we got to save all this money for Charity's wedding, why would they do that? Right. Do you know what I'm saying? My parents have never been like that. Now, your parents might be like that. But I'm telling you, don't be like that. Don't be like that. Decide that in every season of my life, God's not brought you this far, and now all of a sudden it's going to get worse. Right. This school year is going to get worse. No, this school year is going to get better. It's going to be better than the last season, right? But you've got to exchange that care, and only you know what that care is. Only you know what that care is. I want you to bow your head and close your eyes.